Hello Internet, I am Aries1080p, and if you've watched any of my previous videos, I'm going for a change of pace right now. Meme music is the intro, and rock music instead of classical music throughout. Time for a change of scenery, if you ask me. Regardless, the topic of today's episode is map design in video games and the importance of it. Now, what brings this to mind is with a new Call of Duty coming out, and then with Operation Hydra starting to come to a close on Counter-Strike Global Offensive, I figured now would be the optimal time to discuss the recent decline in map depth and the importance of having diverse maps on games of any kind, whether it be a puzzle platformer or a first-person shooter. Regardless of what game you're playing, you need variety in your maps. What makes a map interesting is when there's little quirks and things that you can discover every time you play. When you have these simplistic, bland, boring maps, it just boils down to the same repetitive gameplay, and a game can get very stale very quick. Now, many of you may be wondering why the gameplay footage in the background is Call of Duty and not Counter-Strike, seeing as how Counter-Strike is the main game that my channel is based around. Now, there's a reason I chose this game in particular. I did it very deliberately. The main reason being that Call of Duty Black Ops 1, in my opinion, was arguably the last bastion of good map design in Call of Duty. Now, for those of you who are longtime veterans of Call of Duty, or just longtime gamers in general, you know that Treyarch, the developers of Black Ops 1, after the release of MW3 with its various spawn issues and people complaining about being spawn killed and how spawns were broken in different game modes, they decided that with Black Ops 2, they were going to scrap the traditional map model of Call of Duty and essentially make every single map 3 lanes with identical cover that just look different. Every single map had the same exact time from spawn to spawn, from spawn to mid-map, and there were 3 lanes, a left lane, a mid lane, and a right lane. Now, their logic behind making this decision was that if there are 6 players in an average Call of Duty game, which there should be unless you're playing a variation game mode like a Team Tactical or a Ground War, Team Tactical having only 4 players and Ground War having 10 to 16 players on each team, odds are there's going to be at least 2 people per lane, in theory. You'd have 2 people on the left lane, 2 on the right lane, 2 in mid. So, in turn, you would be getting into multiple gunfights, and you'd be getting into them faster, increasing the rate at which you can get kills and or deaths, and it would make the games more exciting. However, this got very old very fucking quick, and if anyone played Black Ops 2, they know that the map design was pure shit. Anyone who ever tells me that Black Ops 2 is the best Call of Duty they ever played, and they give me a reason other than they liked the zombies, they're a fucking dumbass, and their opinion is invalid to me. Because Black Ops 2 had the same exact map design for every single map. There wasn't a single map that broke this formula. Now, with a game like Black Ops 1, or like Modern Warfare 2, some of the more classic Call of Duties, even farther back than that, COD 4, COD World at War, these maps did not have identical sides of the map, and these maps had the wonderful things known as power positions. For example, if you're playing Terminal on MW2, there's that big center building with the oil tanker that you could get onto. If you were up there, you could see most of the map, and it was a very, very powerful position. However, you were also visible to the whole map, so it took a lot of skill to defend that position, but if you could hold it, it would reward you with having visual of the entire map. With Black Ops 1, if we take this map, WMD for example, there was that sniper tower that I got on earlier in the match throughout the gameplay footage. Different maps need to have power positions to be good maps. We can see this in Counter-Strike as well. Think about a sniper in Jungle on Mirage. However, the difference between a Call of Duty and a Counter-Strike is in Call of Duty there really is no useful utility. In Counter-Strike, there are extreme power positions, but if you know how to throw a smoke or a flashbang correctly, you can essentially neutralize the threat there. And that's what helps make Counter-Strike so enjoyable, even though, in theory, the maps aren't too incredibly in-depth. Now, when I say that maps need power positions, I'm not saying that maps need to be overwhelmingly in-depth. Look at 2 of the most popular maps in first-person shooters of all time, Nuketown from Call of Duty, and Dust 2 from Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Both of these maps, when compared to other maps within their respective series, are simplistic as fuck. but they're very good maps because they have positions that are useful to hold down that help add depth to the gameplay. It's not just running around aimlessly, because it rewards you holding certain angles and playing in certain playstyles at certain times and playing situational heads-up gameplay. Like on Nuketown, if you're playing a game of Demolition, you could sit on that car outside of spawn in mid-map and you can essentially lock down all of mid-map from that position. However, when you're dipping out of cover to shoot, you're exposed and can easily be killed, or you could just have a grenade thrown at you. Think of B on Dust 2. Down towards the end of the tunnels, there is that platform where you can sit, hold that down with an AWP, make sure no one comes out B tunnels. It's simplistic, but it plays good. And that's the second tenet of good map design that I would like to bring up. The map needs to have a natural ebb and flow to it. Now, what do I mean by this? What I mean by a natural ebb and flow is that when playing a map, the pacing isn't going to change dependent on the map without warning. So let's say we're playing Call of Duty on a brand new map I created. I'm pushing through mid, capturing flags, shooting people down, and I'm just cleaning house, running straight through the map. And then all of a sudden, I hit a brick wall, and I just can't move farther. Not a literal brick wall, but a metaphorical one, a symbolic one, to where the map just won't allow me to push farther. Either their spawn is too close and they have spawn invincibility and they just shoot me down, or the map heavily favors that team from the position that they are at, rather than allowing for a fair, balanced gunfight. The map needs to flow. It can't be filled with speed ups and slowdowns. The only exception would be within certain platforming games, like Super Meat Boy. Part of what makes Super Meat Boy such a difficult game is these random changes in pace that you need to adjust on the fly and use your muscle memory from beating previous levels to analyze how to react to a given situation very quickly. That's an example of the game using the ebb and flow properly, while also at the same time doing so in a very untraditional manner. Now, the third point of good map design which I'd like to hit on is that maps, regardless of genre, need to reward new and innovative playstyles. Part of what made a game like MW2 so fun was that because of these power positions and these sprawling maps that did, in some scenarios, favor one team over the other, it allowed for extremely defensive playstyles and camping. I know people like to bitch about people camping in Call of Duty, but it's a valid playstyle that has shown results. You know it's going to work. But it also gave way for rushing. If you knew the map well enough, you'd be able to rush and get in behind enemy lines because of all the different flank lanes and essentially neutralize any campers that the other team had. That's innovative gameplay that you could do on the fly. The problem with a Black Ops 2 is that there's no innovation to be made. It's run down a lane and get shot or be shooting at someone. It's as simple as that. There was no room for innovation. It didn't matter what gun you had, what utility you had. It just did not play into the gameplay at all. It was just rush forward and shoot people. There was no room for innovation. And in Black Ops 2 in particular, they tried to nerf camping by making it so the perk that eliminated UAVs for your player was only able to do so while you were moving. You couldn't just camp and be invisible on the enemy radar like you used to be able to. They also nerfed sniper rifles and a whole slew of other things to just eliminate sedentary gameplay, which I think is a bunch of bullshit. You can't just pander to one group of player because some noob out there hates people who camp. It's a valid play style, like it or not, and people need to be able to master all different kinds of play styles and apply them to their game if they want to be any good at any game. If we look at another example of a game, look at Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. This game allowed for you to just run into bases, run and gun, and completely destroy people with just running and gunning, or you could be slow, methodical, utilize utility and the different gadgets within the game to innovate how you play and take things at your pace. That's good level design. That is good map design. It allows the player to create the engagements they seek to engage in, rather than forcing engagements upon the player because the developer feels that a certain pace must be met. So just to summarize once again what I've said for all of us today, the 3 tenets of good map design in any genre of game is that there needs to be, number 1, some type of power position or meta way to play the game, a certain thing that you can do or place that you can post up in that will give you an inherent edge if your skill ceiling is high enough to work within that position. However, at the same time, maps must also have enough openness and leeway to innovate playstyles. Although that power position might be really good and very useful, there needs to be counters to it that can only be achieved through innovative gameplay and doing things to change up the way that you are playing. And finally, the map needs to have an ebb and flow. The map needs to have a certain pace that can either adjust gradually or can be adjusted in a way that makes sense within the game. You can't have roadblocks randomly appearing and then green lights out of left fucking field. Things need to have a certain pace, but within that pace, there needs to be room for players to move at their own speed. Thank you everyone for watching. I am Aries 1080p. I hope you all enjoyed this video very much, and I also just wanted to say before I go, sorry I haven't been uploading a lot lately. Life is a motherfucker and shit can come up, and I've been having to deal with a lot of stuff recently, but I'll be trying to upload more recently. And as well with that, I am doing a giveaway right now for some type of Counter-Strike Global Offensive weapon. At the time of me recording this, I don't really know what it's going to be. I'm thinking I have an AK-47 skin with like a Howling Dawn sticker on it. I might give that away. But anyways, down in the description, I'm going to put a link to enter the giveaway. It'll probably just be like a Google form or something where you just put your trade link in. And, you know, feel free to enter that, win yourself a nice skin. Also, with that said, I know what the fuck a bot account is, and I know what a duplicate account looks like. If your account doesn't look legit and you win the giveaway, I'll just pick a different account off the list with a random number generator, as I intended to do anyways. Also, if you enjoy my content and you want to tell life to go fuck itself, and even though I've been getting handed a lot of lemons, you're going to take those lemons and go shove it down some kid's throat, please consider supporting me on Patreon if you like the content I make. It encourages me to do what I do by seeing that people out there actually give a fuck about what I'm doing, and it also gives me the monetary support to pay for shit that comes up in life, because I am not a little fucking kid. I actually have expenses in real life that I need to manage. Wow, that was a long closer. But thank you everyone for watching. Enjoy, have a great one, see you next time.